Hey, gang, it's Friday. Finally, Friday. And what better day to wrap up the week than firing cops? Getting rid of them. Across the nation, I'm going to put 4 stories in the description box below. There are going to be 4 links to 4 stories. In the description box below, we're going to call this one, You're Fired. Editorial. Fired Friday. That's a good one. Fired Friday. Because cops are getting fired across the nation for bad stuff. Am I happy? Hell yeah. It's about time we get rid of bad cops. Get them out of there. Stop letting them do bad stuff. So I'm going to go over the stories really quickly. I'm going to just skim across all 4 stories, let you know what they are, so that if one catches your interest or all catch your interest, you can go down. Or if you catch your interest, 2 or 3 or 4, you can go read them below and read the stories and see what's going on if you like to read. Some people really love to read this stuff, which is great. But I'm going to do that. The first one we're going to is Philadelphia. That's right, we're going to Philly. 13 officers in Philadelphia will be fired following an investigation into racist and offensive Facebook posts, the city police commissioner announced on Thursday. In a news conference on Thursday, Commissioner Richard Ross said the officers are on a 30-day suspension with the intent to dismiss. Now, what does that mean, the intent? That means they're getting fired, right? Good intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. The department had placed a total of 72 officers on administrative leave. Remember, I did the editorial on that. In June, after a nonprofit group published the results of a 2-year review of personal Facebook posts or comments from officers in Philadelphia and 7 other departments. Ross said about 3,100 offensive or potentially offensive Facebook posts were identified and connected to 328 active duty Philadelphia police officers, adding that some posts date back to 2010. He said the posts clearly advocated violence or death against any protected class, such as like the Muslims and so forth, but such as ethnicity, national origin, sex, religion, and race, or any speech advocating or supporting crimes affecting the integrity, honesty, trustworthiness of the police department. Did I read that right? You guys are totally confused now. Ross told reporters that all but 3 of the 72 Philadelphia officers currently on leave will face some form of discipline. 4 officers will be suspended for 30 days, while the rest will face disciplinary action ranging from reprimands to a 5-day suspension. Bad baby. The posts included anti-Islamic posts such as Death to Islam, as well as references to African Americans as thugs, encouragement of police brutality, homophobic memes, which in some cases suggest violence against transgender individuals, according to Ross. He said, quote, I continue to be very disappointed and angered by these posts, many of which violate basic human decency. And then he goes on, there's some other stuff in this story here. But if you recall, there was the one where the picture of the officer standing and said, spending a day at the zoo or with the animals. I think it was spending a day with the animals. And he's out there with a couple black individuals. So stuff like that, get rid of them. 13, I said 4, I'm thinking about the other stories. 13 Pennsylvania, Philadelphia police officers to be fired. Let's see if all 13 lose their job, and this would be interesting. Do they end up being cops somewhere else? Let's head a little bit further west and go to Chicago, where 4 Chicago police officers were fired Thursday over false or misleading statements made after the 2014 killing of Laquan McDonald by another officer. The city's police board made the decision. The officer who killed Laquan McDonald, Jason Van Dyke, remember he was found guilty of second-degree murder and 16 counts of aggravated battery in the killing of 17-year-old McDonald. What was he sentenced to? What does a cop get for second-degree murder and 16 counts of aggravated battery? He gets 6 years and 9 months. He'll do probably 3 years. Chicago superintendent of police, don't they have to do like 70%? Or something. I think I read that somewhere. Anyway, he got 6 and 9. Chicago superintendent of Police Eddie Johnson in 2016 had recommended that Sergeant Stephen Franco, Officers Ricardo Viramontes, Janet Mondragon, and Daphne Sebastian be fired for violating rules of conduct after the shooting, according to the board's decision Thursday. I need coffee. Franco, who was the first one on the scene supervisor in the October 2014 shooting, approved reports that contained several demonstrable and known falsehoods, including that Van Dyke was injured by the 17-year-old who had been carrying a knife, the police board wrote in the decision. The other three officers, all of whom were on the scene, gave statements about the shooting, and the board found that each of the three officers failed in their duty either by outright lying or shading the truth. That's why you need to record the police when you see them on the street. I just uploaded a video this morning. A cop watch I did last night. The officers did okay. They were polite. They said, "How you doing?" and everything, and I was polite back. But why are they searching a guy's car and sit him on the curb and then give him a citation? If he was on probation or parole, I kind of get it, because you don't have any rights when you're on probation or parole. But if he wasn't, and they do that a lot. I mean, are there that many people on probation or parole that they're always sitting on the curb and they're searching their car when they pull them over? Is there that many people on probation or parole? But it's always like that. Sit on the curb. We're going to go through your car. Okay, you're going to get a ticket. Fix your registration. But anyway, so that's why you always record the police. Sorry, I got sidetracked. But here you got these three officers, all of whom were on the scene, gave statements about the shooting by outright lying or shading the truth. These statements were critical because they would be used by investigators to determine whether the shooting at McDonald was justified and whether a crime occurred, the board wrote. Now, the Philadelphia police story, I want to thank Fox News for that story. Fox News was where I got the Philadelphia story from. This one here, I want to thank NBC News for this Chicago story. Thank you, NBC News, for the Chicago story that we're giving you right now. Going on, there's a quote here that says of the Chicago officers that were fired, their conduct is anti-ethical to that expected and required of a sworn law enforcement officer who at all times, has the police board wrote in the decision released Thursday. I don't understand what I just read. An email to the president of the police union, the Fraternal Order of Police, Chicago Lodge 7, was not immediately returned. They're not going to return it. But anyway, getting back to it. So these four Chicago police officers fired over statements they made after another officer fatally shot Laquan McDonald. If you read that story and you go down lower towards the bottom, somewhere the police union was talking about how these four officers were fired because of what someone else did. They're talking about Jason Van Dyke. No, they were fired for lying and shading the truth. That's what they were fired. Don't mix it up. Well, they were fired because Jason Van Dyke shot somebody. No, they were fired because they fucking lied. Sorry for my language, but I'm tired of that. It's getting ridiculous. These cops that lie and think they can get away with it. Why don't you just tell the truth? Going down south a little to New Orleans. 4 Nolans police officers were fired. I read this one to you. Remember, I gave you this editorial about the fire. They chased the 2 young men. They ran into the beauty store, and then it caught fire, and an innocent lady just shot and died. But I wanted to include this one in here because, again, 4 officers from New Orleans Police Department were fired. They were dismissed. 2 were suspended. I'm going to put that link in there as well. Thank you to WGNO News for this story here. Again, so we got Philadelphia 13. We've got Chicago 4. We've got New Orleans 4 officers fired. That's 21 officers fired in just a couple weeks or a week. Right there, 21 officers out of a job right away. I wanted to include that story with you as well. I did the editorial on that one yesterday. I think it was yesterday or the day before. So I'm losing track of my days. So you can go look. The Mercury News, we want to thank the Mercury News for this story going all the way west to Oakland in a stunning double rebuke of Oakland Police Chief Ann Kirkpatrick, both the Federal Monitor overseeing the department and the City Police Commission have called for the firing of 5 officers in the March 2018 fatal shooting of Joshua Pollock, overruling the chief's decision of a lighter punishment. See, police chief wanted a lighter punishment. The Oakland the Federal Monitor overseeing the department and the city's police commission have called for the firing of these 5 guys or officers. The shooting was captured on multiple body cameras worn by the officers, and the footage was used by Monitor Robert Warshaw and Oakland police commissioners to determine that the homeless man was not an immediate threat. Of course he wasn't. The recommendations made last month are contained in documents Oakland released Thursday afternoon under Senate Bill 1421, the state's new policy, the Transparency Law. Got him. The Transparency Law has got 5. So they're calling for the firing of these 5. We will see if they actually get fired. If you read down a little, it says officers William Berger, Brandon Hraitz, Francisco Negrete, Joseph Phillips, and Craig Tanaka face termination and have been placed on administrative leave pending appeals. Of course, they're probably getting paid still. Phillips fired beanbag rounds, and the other 4 officers fired their rifles at Pollock, who was lying on the ground between 2 houses and stirring awake as the officers shouted commands at him. Pollock had his hand on a pistol that was resting on the ground as officers yelled at him to both not move and to also raise his hands. The video showed Pollock's hands moving slightly. The officers, later saying they believed he was about to shoot at them, fired their weapons. Well, he touched the gun. He touched it. He was going to shoot us eventually. So we just shot him because eventually he was going to shoot at us. It's just freaking, my blood is boiling. What if the guy wasn't going to shoot at you? What if he was going to wake up? Well, he was probably, if he was homeless and he was laying on the ground between 2 houses, did it say? He was probably half intoxicated, inebriated, drunk. He didn't know what the hell was going on. He had the gun because he's probably been robbed 4 or 5 times by other homeless people. So he moved his hand, touched his gun, or whatever he did with his gun, and they killed him. Sorry, guys, I'm rambling, but I'm trying to get this out. I don't have a whole lot of time here. I'm going to put that one down below as well. So those 5 officers are up for firing. So we have 21 that are gone, 5 that are up for firing. It's Fired Friday. I want to give this to you guys and let you know what's going on across your nation, literally, with law enforcement and everybody else. News Now Yucaipa. Have a great Friday. I hope you've had a great week. Again, those links are down below if you want to go back and read those. I'm telling you, it's about time to start putting a foot up the ass of some bad cops. What do you guys think about these stories and whatever blah, blah, blah I've said today here in this 13 minutes? Thank you for watching. Have a great week.